Welcome to Star Wars Action News, helping Star Wars collectors collect better.
We should explain too that within Lucasfilm, we worked with the story group, and they are like the keepers of canon. They know absolutely everything about Star Wars. We have some funny stories about them that I'm sure you guys will relate. So they kind of got to decide what we could and couldn't use, and so whenever I could get something in, especially about Leia's past, I was like, yes. But I knew that I was going to have to reference a lot of off-camera scenes to flesh out the story because, for instance, Leia doesn't get as much screen time as Han and Luke do. So I got permission to adapt from the radio drama. Is anyone familiar with it? Yeah, it's so great. And so I got to adapt directly from it, and that felt like so special and such a privilege to me. And so you'll find certain scenes that I wanted to pull forward and bring in for a new audience, and then there are certain scenes that I couldn't use because either they were going to conflict with new canon or they were very 80s, or I very strongly disagreed with the direction he took the characters. So I got to put some play on scenes, which was really cool. And they got convinced. Didn't go broke. But I adapted primarily from the film script and the radio drama script.
And one of the things I should mention is, with all three of these novels, we didn't want them to just be a complete, straight retelling of the films, because we have films, there's been novelizations. The idea is, let's go to these three authors and get their unique sensibilities and use more of these retellings. And one of the things from the Lucasfilm side was, no, you can expand on it. And they work very closely with the story group and the Bobo and Victoria to say, okay, what can we do that's different? You each added scenes to all of yours that are phenomenal, and that's part of the fun thing. What can I add? What's the scenes in between the scenes? And hopefully that's one of the draws to these books.
Yeah, I think of the three of us, I felt the most precious about trying to keep it as true to the film as I possibly. Well, that's true, you did too. But I read Adam's book and came down and changed Princess Leia's hairstyle in a scene. I was like, there's a mistake in this book. I don't know if I read that.
No, Alex is so much nicer than that. She said, it's so interesting that you chose to have Leia's hair up with braids in this scene when it was in down in the movie.
They were the proud city dirty when she was on top. That wasn't her like that.
Oh, boy.
So I knew that if there was material out there, and I knew that people were some people were very disappointed about losing the expanding universe as official canon. So I knew if there was material out there that I could use, I thought it would feel special to long-time Star Wars fans and long-time readers to see certain elements brought back in.
It was really fun to get to in right. I don't know if this is what you wanted us to talk about yet, but when we met, we went to Lucasfilm, we went to Skywalker Ranch, we met with the story group guys. I don't know if people here are familiar with them as individuals. They're both public figures. Leland Chi and Pablo Hidalgo. Are you guys familiar with either Pablo or Leland? So you guys, if you're not, you should be, because Leland is the keeper of the holocron, and Pablo and Leland together are the guys who are responsible for the continuity of the entire Star Wars universe. And
They're part of it.
They're part of the team.
They're not the only team.
Yeah, right, sorry. Yeah. But they, so we go to Skywalker Ranch and sit down around a huge table with them, and they say, so tell us about some of the things you're hoping to do. They've been very encouraging about adding things to the stories. And because my background is in fairy tales, I said, I'm going to have Yoda tell a fairy tale. It's great. And I say, in this fairy tale, there is a chicken. And the problem is, I don't know if there are chickens in a galaxy far, far away. And Pablo sits back in his chair and he goes, 11. And I was like, what? And he says there are 11 chickens called for in the script of Return of the Jedi. I was like, oh, okay. Chickens are a go. And then he said, and presumably there are falcons too, though we never see one, right? And then, right, Millennium Falcon. And then Tony DiTolisi, who was there with us and who did the wonderful picture book, The Adventures of Skywalker Jedi Knight, said...
Ralph McCoy, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And he said, well, so how long is Luke on Dagobah yet. And I don't remember if it was Papa or Leland leans back in his chair and he goes, well, the question you have to ask yourself is, how long does it take to get from Hoth to Bespin without a hyperdrive? That's the question, right? That's how long it takes. Luke is on, which was mind-blowingly smart, so it's pretty cool.
That was definitely helpful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I couldn't see Leland do it.
Yeah. So.
Hey, one thing I'd like to add to that, to me, one thing that was really awesome about coming back to Return of the Jedi, when I saw Return of the Jedi was when I was a kid, I hadn't seen the prequels because they didn't exist. I hadn't seen the Clone Wars. I hadn't seen any of that. So Darth Vader was really a mysterious character when I saw Return of the Jedi as a kid. Coming back to it now, I know so much more about who Anakin Skywalker was. And so in my book, my Return of the Jedi is going to mention Ahsoka and Padme and life on Tatooine when Anakin was a kid, because that's all part of Darth Vader, and that's all part of that incredible reveal when he finally loses the mask at the very end. It's just so weird that we didn't know what was going on in his head then, but we've got a better idea now. So I took that opportunity to add all of that stuff back in.
When you guys sat down to write it, what was the biggest challenge? What was the biggest surprise around adapting to that kind of story?
Mine was really the mental hurdle, because like I said before, I had grown up reading all of these Star Wars books, and they were so special to me. I was like as much as I love Star Wars, I was so intimidated at the prospect of like stepping in and like getting and like doing it justice, basically, having it be like a fun experience for everyone to read, not just kids, but also their parents and everything together. So mine was really that like mental hurdle of like not like crawling under my desk and like shaking and just like rocking back and forth every time I sat down to write. And actually the only way I got over that was handwriting the book. Like it somehow felt like less pressure to handwrite it in a notebook.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I covered it too, actually. Yeah.
Put that. Say that for trivia one day.
So I was a teacher for 8 years. I taught first grade, second grade, fifth grade, and a little bit of high school. And for me, the biggest challenge, and I mentioned it before, first draft that I wrote, it didn't feel like it was close enough. That watching Empire, feel so close to Luke, especially on Dagobah. I feel like I'm there. Well, I do fairy tales. I've done fairy tales in the past. The cool thing about fairy tales, one of the interesting things about fairy tales is the main characters in fairy tales are what I call empty characters. They have very few characteristics. Cinderella. What do we know about Cinderella? People are mean to her, and she's nice. That's about it, right? We don't know if she's smart, we don't know if she's interesting, we don't know what she likes to do in her free time, nothing. All we know about Cinderella is she's nice, and people are nice to her. And that's a real benefit for Cinderella as a global icon, because everyone puts themselves into Cinderella, right? You are Cinderella. And so my real challenge when I was writing it was trying to get close to Luke and make the reader, and make the young readers who I'm really focused on, the teacher, get close to Luke. And so it was when I took a little like writing retreat. I was on a beach, and I took a break from writing, and I was just super depressed. If any of you guys are creative artists of any kind, you know that you can get really down. And I was really down about how the book was going, and that it was going to be impossible to do well. And I was walking on the beach, and I was like, "You're just there," and I was like, "You're just there." And I ran back, and I started writing in the second person, and the book just flowed out of me. So that's the biggest challenge.
One of the biggest challenges for me was what I think is maybe the greatest scene in movie history is when you're the raid on the Death Star. And I knew I would never be able to capture just the insane bigness of all those ships and all that firepower and stuff. But I still wanted to try and keep it as breathless and exciting as that is. And then when you start to go through the movie, I realized it cuts back and forth between Luke, and then it cuts to Lando and Vietnam, and then it cuts back to Endor, and then it cuts to Akbar, and then it cuts, and it just cut. And I was like, if I try to write a book like this, the reader's going to lose their mind. So I had to try to mesh things together and like combine. It wasn't that I was changing things. I was just sort of molding things around, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I had this huge paper with all of these crazy, well, this is where Leda is going to say, that was too close. And then this is where, and it was crazy, all this stuff, trying to line it up, keep the chronology right, but keep the reader from losing their brain. It was really hard, but it was so, I can't tell you how much fun it was. It was so much fun.
Well, we've been talking about the books. I think it would be fun to give them little pieces of the books. So if you wouldn't mind, you could each maybe read a little bit so everyone gets a real feel of what we're talking about here. Cool.
I wanted to pick a scene from the Leia section. I have to set it up a little bit though. So one of the things that I felt very strongly about was in between the time Leia was taken into custody by Vader and brought to the Death Star. I personally feel like Leia would have at least tried to escape once, right? Leia's not someone who's just going to be like casually taken into custody. One of the scenes that I got to kind of invent and create was this moment where she does make an spoiler ill-fated escape attempt. And the scene is set on the Star Destroyer before she's taken to the Death Star, and she spies an Imperial shuttle basically being loaded up, and she's like, that's my ride out of here. She had years of flight training, and well, there were all those dunes to hide in. Let's see how Vader likes getting pretty sandy and sensitive places in his armor. She found her chances. Two of her escorts broke away, heading into nearby command room. She had to guess, began processing her into the detention block. Leia allowed the others to push her into yet another elevator. The doors had barely shut, and she swung her bound hands towards the control panel with a whack, causing the car to jerk to a stop. The stormtroopers next to her were thrown off balance, giving her a chance to swipe one of their blasters and fire. Stop! Too late for that blaze of brain, Leia thought, glancing down at her stun forms. Neither of them had the keys to her binder. She reached up to pull one of the dozens of pins out of her hair and went to work jamming the electronic lock, like the binders mattered. She could fly herself out of there blind, deaf, and with both hands bound behind her back. The second the elevator door hissed open, Leia slipped out and scanned the empty hall. She turned back and fired a shot at the elevator's control panel. The door shrieked in protest, jamming over and over again on one of the stormtroopers' feet. Leia blew a stray piece of hair out of her eyes in a huff of annoyance as she kicked the foot back into the car. The elevator door slammed shut. Leia kept to the edge of the corridor, hanging back a few steps from the hangar's entrance. The air on the ship was dry and freezing cold, but Leia felt damp with sweat. Pulse fluttering, she watched the engineers step through the hangar door together, speaking quietly. They turned, heading away from her. Leia was still clutching the stolen blaster as she slipped inside and made a run for the shuttle. The boarding ramp was down. Her mind sorted through the dangers quickly, like she was looking through a stack of savage cards. No one was on board. She could just go. If someone was on board, she needed to stun him, and then she could use him as a hostage. Stars, her arms would have expired on the spot, hearing that in princess-like thought. 2 or 3 people inside would pose somewhat more of a challenge. The thought slid to a halt at the same moment the beat did. Standing at the top of the shuttle's boarding ramp, hands on his hip, as solid and large as any of Alderaa's mountains, was Darth Vader.
Where you break the sections?
Oh yeah, so the sections break where I felt was probably the most natural point. So it breaks at Leia's section breaks at the end of her watching Alderaan get destroyed and her kind of having to like renew her determination to see the end of the Empire. And then it picks up with Han and Cantina. Han's section carries through to the point where you see them escape the Death Star. And then Luke picks up from there and carries on to the end.
Right. One of the things I also want to mention was, so what Alex just read from is a chapter sampler that contains samples from all 3 books that will be downstairs in the Disney booth if anyone's interested. It's booth 1129. And then all 3 awesome authors will be signing this very cool poster. Also, Disney booth at 1 p.m. And it's the covers to their each of the books.
1 p.m.
Yes, 1 p.m.
All right.
Disney booth 1129.
All right, I'm going to what I've done is I've selected some of the Jedi lessons from my book for you. I will tell you now. In fact, let me just come down now, and I'm going to see if I can grab that portable mic. Is that okay?
It's going on script.
Test. Awesome. All right, great. So, as I said, I've selected some lessons from my book for you. They are not easy. They start easy, but they get quite difficult indeed. So, who here would like to subject themselves to a small slice of Jedi training? All right, who wants to try to be a Jedi? Don't be shy, because I know your names. There we go, right there. Get up here. All right. Stand right here next to me. Come up here. All right. Tell me your name again for everyone to hear.
Rodney.
Okay. Rodney? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Rodney, where are you from?
Corona.
Awesome. All right. So, what is your name? Where are you from? Okay, so what is the airspeed velocity in unladen swallow? There's the scroll. All right, just wait. Have a seat right here. Excellent. So, Rodney, this is what we're going to do. The first test is called Peace is a Superpower. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. While you're breathing, I want you to focus just on your breath. Try not to think. Just feel the air come in your nose and out of your nose. You're going to be aware of every breath. Ready? Okay. Close your eyes. Yeah, look straight ahead. There you go. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep doing it. Don't stop. I'm going to count to 20 in my head. I'll just keep breathing in and out. In. 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 And out. In. And out. Okay, open your eyes. Did other thoughts come into your head while you were counting? Thoughts like, what does this have to do with being a Jedi, and why is this guy so weird? No? Very good. Awesome. As for what does this have to do with being a Jedi, a lot. This has a lot to do with being a Jedi, and as for why am I so weird, there is no answer to that question. Alright, next lesson. The next lesson is called, You Must Find Balance. Because this time, I want you to meditate while balancing a book on your head. Okay? Sounds difficult, right? It should. Being a Jedi is not easy. Stand up. Take this book, which is almost the size of you. I want you to take it, and I want you to put it on your head. See if you can stand straight with it on your head. Very good. Okay, that's okay. If you need it, hold it for a minute. That's okay. See if you can get yourself balanced. Okay. Good. Oh. You might have a pointy head. This is going to be difficult. We're going to keep trying your version. Okay, good. Great. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep it close. I know you look stupid doing this. Keep meditating. I know that you look stupid doing this. But Jedi often have to do things that make them look stupid. Some people won't understand. Most people, in fact, won't understand. But if you want everything you do to look cool all the time, you can't be a Jedi. Jedi follow a higher calling than cool. Okay. You may open your eyes. Give me a hand right now. This is the last test, and this is the hardest test. And this is for advanced Jedi only, okay? But we're going to try it because you did so well with what you just did, okay? So, in a minute, not yet, you're going to put the book back on your head. You're going to try to meditate again. No, you're going to keep the book on your head and keep your eyes open. I am going to start throwing dirty laundry at you while you have the book on your head. Maybe it's clean laundry, but I'm just telling you I've been on the road for a while and there's no laundry in my hotel. So, you're going to keep the book on your head, keep your eyes open, and you just stay calm. As I toss these objects you're going to very calmly back them away with your hands and see if you can keep the book on your head. Go ahead and get balanced while I get my dirty laundry ready going. Okay. He's okay, he's good. The force is different. Oh, okay.
And where there are no traps set, the Ewoks get by on instinct. You guys sure you're into this? first struck some blow against the mighty metal monsters in their forest, and every Imperial that so much as stumbles finds himself covered in angry Ewoks, each one looking for that spot to slip a knife through the armor. Mirchi Wama! Screams Tebow, plunging his blade into, well, let's not say exactly where he plunges, but as he raises his blood-drenched fist in the air in triumph, the rest of his tribe answers, Mirchi Wama! And the other tribes take up the call too, and the forest rings with their fury. Let's hear it! Mirchi Wama!
Wait, you have to go into your goal of rehabilitating the image of the
Well, if you couldn't tell from that, I really wanted people to respect the Ewok. Do you guys respect the Ewok a little more now? Yes. Do you respect the Ewok? What? I don't believe it. Do I need to say Dear Chihuahua again? Is that what's going to take? More blood?
Well, that gives you just a little taste of what you're going to find in all three of these books. While we have them here, we thought we might open up open questions if anyone has anything they want to ask. There's a microphone in the center. If you guys want to line up, it's probably the easiest, I think. Awesome. All right, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Rishi.
Hey, Richard.
Are you planning to do the rest of the series? Like, the movies?
We hope so. That depends on you guys. We would love to do it. We'd love to go back and do 1, 2, 3 the same way. That's going to be, if you guys like this, if you're into it, if you buy it, if you say, yeah, this is cool. So you let us know.
So Richie, it's your responsibility.
Yes.
Personally. You're going to need to buy somewhere between 100 and 200,000 books. At which point we're on, okay? We're signed up, okay?
Hi, John Hammond, and I'm sorry about all the death and dismemberment. Spare no expense. My question for the three of you is, you were all adamant about which book that you were the most passionate about. I love what you had to say about Leia, I love about the Jedi training, I love about the rehabilitation of the Ewoks. I'd like to know, of the 3 prequel films that are existing right now, it sounds like you have a little bit of defense for the prequels as far as showing us Vader and everything. Which of those 3 would you want to tackle if you were told by Lucasfilm you had to choose one of those?
I feel like the Phantom Menace is the most potential to like really get a good retelling and just kind of like reorient the story in a way that's like
Get into Jar Jar's head.
Jar Jar's perspective in his voice. I think there's, I don't know, the thing I like, the prequels have a lot of potential for like really fun retellings. It's just sort of like shifting the focus a bit though. I mean, I love Revenge of the Sith. I think it has like a lot of really cool elements. Of the 3, I love that one. It's not my favorite, I promise. But I love to take a shot at that.
I probably would have chosen Phantom Menace also because of the kid element. I mean, I love writing about kids. I love getting in kids' heads. That said, showing Anakin as he is turning to the dark side and trying to represent that struggle and that transition. One of the things that was important to me in writing Empire Strikes Back is it was very important to me in that final scene between Luke and Vader that you should feel that Vader is making a good offer. Once Luke finds out, spoiler alert, that Vader is his father. Yeah, sorry. Once Luke finds out, Luke has been talking about his father for the whole trilogy, right? All he talks about is his father and how great his father was. And he finally meets him. And his father makes him an offer. His father says, come and be with me, and we will rule the galaxy together as father and son. You, as Luke, should really want to take that offer or at least think about it really hard. And so getting into that moment and trying to get you, the reader, to that moment was important for me in my book. And likewise, to try to get Anakin to the point of going over the dark side and making you want it and believe it would be kind of a fun challenge.
And for me, I was sort of like, if you'd like me to write the episode 7 book. And then there was the sound of crickets. So I'm still waiting. And more crickets, okay.
So first I just wanted to mention how I love how in the little passage that you narrated, Alex, that you mentioned the Sapphic cards. That is so cool.
Well, I had a moment of panic where it was like, when you read a word so often, but you've never actually heard it said out loud, it was like, God, if I say it wrong, everyone in this room is going to know.
And so my question was, out of the 3 characters that you wrote for, I know that you're kind of impartial, but which was your favorite one to write for?
I like them all in different ways, which is like a cop-out, I know, but like with Leia, I felt like I had like a more of an agenda of what I wanted to do with her character. There was so much I could do, but like Han's voice is so funny to write in, and he's just this like rolling his eyes at everything that he's saying, basically, and like just has like the best. I think his section is probably the funniest in the book, just because of who the character is. But then with Luke, I have such a soft spot for Luke in general, and I think what you were saying earlier about how he's kind of a blank slate, he's like a little bit of a dope initially. Like he's like told he's being handed the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, and he like immediately points it at his face. Like some work to be done with Luke in terms of, or like even when Lucas, like for instance, one of the scenes that I wanted to like rehabilitate Luke's character a little bit was right after Obi-Wan dies and he's on the Millennium Falcon and he's like really sulky. And then Leia, of all people, has to come comfort him. Like, sorry, this old man you knew for 6 hours just died. Meanwhile, my whole planet. The easiest section for me was Han's, right? Just because he has such a strong voice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love writing Yoda. I mean, not the language so much, actually. After a while, I think it's a huge pain in the butt. But to try to write his philosophy. I do a little bit of martial arts, and so my sensei is a very wise man and also very hard to understand. And so I was very much channeling my sensei when I was writing Yoda, so that was fun.
The way my book worked out, I got to like peek into all these different characters, so it was fun to like, what is Boba Fett thinking about when he's standing next to Jabba's throne? Because he's like a man of action, but he's just been hanging out in the dungeon for like a couple months or 3 years or however long it's been. What's he thinking about? And it was just fun thinking about what all these different characters are thinking about. And so I have a more Moff Jerjerrod than any Star Wars person has ever written. Is that making people want to buy the book? Maybe I should have mentioned the amount of Moff Jerjerrod.
Thank you. My question is 2-part. First, we know you're amazing authors. How in the world did you get picked to do this? The second question goes to, what can you say to inspire all the young wannabe authors in the room for writing for Star Wars from Nerdy Ridge?
I feel like my origin story with this project is slightly less glamorous than yours. But I had a pre-existing relationship with Disney Hyperion, which is the publishing arm of Disney. My Darkest Night series is published with them. At a publishing dinner that we were having, actually Tony DiTerlizzi, who we were talking about earlier, his Adventures of Luke Skywalker picture book was being introduced, and they were talking about the Star Wars publishing program that they were going to start. And I was sitting next to my editor at the time, and I like turned and just looked at her, and I must have looked like a maniac. I was just like, and she's like, you do not have time to write a Star Wars book. But then when this came up, she was like, all right, like, are you interested? She knew my background with my dad. She knew that I like missed a deadline because I had to like go to a Star Wars convention. So that's kind of actually, I just got a call kind of like out of the blue. And it was like, yeah, it was like...
Yeah, well, we're not interrupt, but their work really does speak for itself. Right. They're incredibly active. And we were looking for, different folks that could come into the Star Wars universe that knew the Star Wars universe. And each of them know how to back their hand. So to say, yeah,
two of us.
I know like the bottom of my foot. It's harder to see, but I know.
So to bring them in that way, I was like, well, no, we have these people that are phenomenal. We hope they say yes, and if more of us want to they do it. And when they all say yes, we're so glad. I'm getting the 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to address the second part.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so very quickly, as I was saying before, I read so much Star Wars when I was younger, but I also wrote a lot of Star Wars fan fiction. Some of which is still online because I lost my password to fanfiction.net. Occasionally I still get like a random review from someone being like, this isn't that bad. But I like wrote fanfiction really consistently through middle school and high school. So that's a great way, just like writing your own Star Wars stories and like write a little bit every day.
I was not a writer at all as a kid. I only started writing things down as a teacher. What I did as a kid though was I played a lot. I didn't play, I played video games some, but what I'm talking about is I imagined and play. So my favorite was the G.I. Joes, and I had these G.I. Joes, and for hours and hours a day I would just have them talking to each other. Usually one was the cool kid from school, and the other one was me. And the cool kid would say something mean and funny to me, and all the other G.I. Joes would laugh. And then I would say something awesome and hilarious back to the cool kid, and all the other G.I. Joes would go, oh! And I dissed him, and I forgot myself. But it's not as easy thing when we come back, so sometimes he would say something mean and funny to me, and I would just beat him up, which was equally satisfying. So what I recommend to young people who are thinking about being a writer is beat up G.I. Joes, is to play. Wait, we're missing Eleanor? I talked too long for Eleanor's question? Okay. So anyway, imagine. Play as much as you can. Imagine as much as you can. That's it. Right?
Yeah, and just, it is possible. I mean, I am nothing but a nerd. I'm nothing but a fan, just like you guys, and I'm just a fan that never shut up. And I just eventually ended up writing a lot of down on paper, and it happens. It's possible. It can be done. There's no reason. The dude out there is probably better writer than I am. I'm not that great. I just wouldn't shut up. So just never shut up.
Never shut up. What's your question?
Just a cat.
Yeah. We all answer. Uh-oh. So extreme wall breaking. Yes, I love extreme wall breaking, but this extreme wall breaking is that you step into the book and become Luke Skywalker. So that's the fourth wall breaking there. That's a good question.
We are out of time. I want to thank everyone on the panel.
Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Star Wars Action News with more collecting news and reviews at swactionnews.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. May the pegs be stocked and the Force be with you.